Focus. Speed. I am speed. One winner. 42 losers. I eat losers for breakfast. Breakfast. Maybe I should have had breakfast. No, stay focused. Speed. Faster than fast, quicker than quick. I am lightning.
After one of the most unpredictable and downright entertaining seasons the NFL has ever seen, a season where the Kansas City Chiefs pulled off wins that felt like miracles, the Cincinnati Bengals lit up scoreboards but couldn't stop losing, and yeah, a general manager even took a beer can to the face, one question looms large. Did Saquon Barkley just deliver the greatest season a running back has ever had? This right here is an NFL football field. 120 yards from end zone to end zone. Now take every starting running back who's made the playoffs this past season and average out their total yards from scrimmage. You get 14 football fields. That's 1,620 yards. Solid. But then there's the legend, Terrell Davis. In 1998, he didn't just surpass his peers, he left them in the dust, tearing across 23 football fields, racking up 2,762 yards from scrimmage to set a record that felt untouchable, etched in history forever. Until Saquon Barkley came along. He didn't just break it, he surpassed it by an entire football field, piling up 2,857 yards. Here's the twist. Saquon matched Davis's championship glory, adding to his own Super Bowl crown in an era thicker with defensive talent and quarterback hype. Now let's talk efficiency. Saquon wasn't just piling up yards, he was doing it with style. According to Next Gen Stats, rushing efficiency measures how directly a runner gets to the end zone. Total distance traveled per rushing yard gained. Basically, it shows how little movement you waste when you run with the ball. For example, when you're going somewhere, you aren't just going to just meander around and take the longest route to get where you're going. You're going to take the fastest route possible in order to reach your destination. In the perspective of an NFL running back, the lower your number, the more you're a north-south runner. Take this highlight from week 12 for example. Saquon spots the gap, bolts left, and with his electric speed, leaves the defenders choking on dust, carving a beeline to the end zone. That's efficiency in action. Both Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley in terms of efficiency this season, they're neck and neck, tied at an elite 3.1. Saquon isn't just a freight train, he's a freight train with a jetpack, blending power, explosiveness, and zero wasted motion. Next Gen Stats back this up with their machine learning model. They crunch data at every snap, predicting how many yards a rusher should gain the instant the ball is handed off, factoring in a defender's position, blocking angles, even the runner's momentum. Then they track what actually happens. When a runner smashes through those projections, defying the odds with a jaw-dropping gain, that's called a remarkable rush. This past season, of the top 20 remarkable rushes league-wide, Saquon claimed 25%, 5 of them, shrugging off tacklers and turning routine plays into game breakers. Now let's shift the gears to pure speed, a stat where Saquon didn't just compete, he dominated. He owned 40% of the 10 fastest runs by a running back in 2024, repeatedly clocking over 20 miles per hour, peaking at 21.93 miles per hour on a 55-yard tear against his own New York Giants in Week 7. Speaking of the Giants, they let Saquon walk in free agency after 2023, a year where he grinded out 962 rushing yards in the regular season, despite a porous O-line that collapsed more than it blocked, and he missed 3 games to injury. That's a gut punch stat on its own. Nearly 1,000 yards with one hand tied behind his back. Their loss turned into Philly's gold mine. The Giants' total team rushing yards in 2024, a measly 1,783, over 200 yards shy of Saquon's 2005 alone. Their leading rusher, Tyrone Tracy Jr., barely cracked 800 yards, while Saquon was out there rewriting record books. That's not just a mistake, it's a masterclass in how to fumble a superstar. And then came the playoffs. Saquon didn't slow down, he leveled up. In 4 games, he racked up about 500 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns, including a 205-yard masterpiece against the Rams in the divisional round. He capped it off with a Super Bowl win on his 28th birthday, helping the Eagles take down the Chiefs 40-22. 7 of his 20 total touchdowns came from 60 plus yards, an NFL record. This wasn't just a good, complete season, it was a takeover. But where does Saquon stack up against the all-time greats? If we are strictly talking about the regular season, then there are a few different players you can make that argument for. Jim Brown in 1963 piled up 1,863 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns at a jaw-dropping 6.4 yards per carry, averaging 133.1 yards per game. Numbers that scream dominance even before the Super Bowl era. However, the Browns went 10-4. But missed the championship game in a pre-playoff expansion NFL. Eric Dickerson's 1984, 2,105 rushing yards, standing till this day as the NFL record for most rushing yards in the regular season. 2,244 total. Pure volume in a 16-game era that stood as the gold standard for 4 decades. A relentless workhorse effort that carried the Rams to the playoffs with 14 touchdowns. However, he actually ended up losing in one game, albeit an impressive one, with 107 yards and a score to go along with. Arguably the most famous season in NFL history, O.J. Simpson in 1973. 2,003 rushing yards, first to break 2,000 yards, and he did it in 14 games. Yeah, that's just berserk. An NFL record 143 yards per game. That does not look to be broken anytime soon. However, just 12 receiving yards and no playoffs. Legendary, yet fell short on a Bills team that threw for under 1,000 yards all season, earning MVP as the last non-playoff player to claim it. Barry Sanders in 1997 crafted a masterpiece, piling up 2,053 rushing yards with wizardry few could match. He stumbled out of the gate, barely scraping 53 yards across his first 2 games, then flipped the script, unleashing 14 straight 100-yard performances that left defenses grasping at air. Splitting MVP honors with Brett Favre, he danced to a league-high 6.1 yards per carry, but the Lions and Sanders flickered out in the playoffs, dimmed by a 65-yard postseason whimper. LaDainian Tomlinson's 2006 season was pure chaos, an unhinged record-shattering rampage that left the NFL in awe. He demolished the record books with 31 total touchdowns and 2,323 scrimmage yards, snagging him MVP honors on a 14-2 Chargers juggernaut, a scoring spree no one's dared approach since. According to approximate value, a stat gauging a player's seasonal worth, this stands as the most valuable season in NFL history. That's mind-blowing. His 28 rushing touchdowns is an NFL record that still towers untouchable. To put this into perspective, there have been 5 men who since come closest to breaking this record. How close exactly were they? 10 touchdowns behind. Yeah, I think this one's not getting broken anytime soon. Tomlinson's madness spilled into the playoffs, where he torched the Patriots for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. But even LT's heroics couldn't drag the Chargers past Tom Brady in a gutting 24-21 loss. Legendary doesn't even cover it. This was a season for the ages. Arguably the single most underrated season ever, Chris Johnson in 2009. He hit 2,509 scrimmage yards, which is the most ever. Electric speed on a middling Titan squad that missed the playoffs. CJ2K dashed for 2,006 rushing yards and added 503 receiving yards, torching defenses with a league best 22 runs of 20 plus yards. Yet somehow, this season barely cracks the all-time great combo. Sure, the Titans couldn't sniff the postseason, but the 8-8 anchor shouldn't drown out the sheer brilliance of Johnson's historic tear. A one-man highlight reel that demands his flowers, playoffs or not. Adrian Peterson in 2012. Honestly, what more needs to be said? The man tore his ACL and MCL on Christmas Eve 2011, a career ender for most, and 9 months later, he roared back with 2,097 rushing yards, second only to Dickerson, and 2,314 total, seizing MVP honors in a comeback so wild it's borderline mythical. This wasn't just a rehab, it was a Herculean resurrection, fueled by sheer unyielding willpower that hauled a wobbly Viking squad to a 10-6 playoff berth. AP bulldozed his way to 10 games with 100 plus yards, with Christian Ponder at QB throwing for under 3,000 yards. Defenses knew he was coming, stacked the box, and they still couldn't stop him. Yet even a Titan like him couldn't topple Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in the playoffs. Stranded by a team too thin to match his grit, to tear your ACL and MCL and then rewrite the record books like that, That's not just insane, it's superhuman. Every player I just laid out, legends like Brown, Dickerson, OJ, Sanders, Tomlinson, Johnson, and Peterson, carved out historic regular seasons, each with a legit claim to the greatest ever. But what happens when we widen the lens to the full scope? A regular season plus the playoffs. That's where the tale twists. Only 3 men have forged a truly complete legacy, combining both postseason heroics with their regular season dominance in a way that elevates them beyond the pack. Marshall Faulk, during the regular season in 2000, blended 2,189 scrimmage yards with 26 touchdowns for MVP. Interestingly, it was his year before, when he finished second in MVP, that he had an overall more impressive season. In 1999, he totaled 2,429 yards from scrimmage during the regular season, with 1,048 of those yards being receiving yards, highlighting his dual-threat brilliance, unmatched then or since. Now, when you combine that with his postseason success that year, he had a total of 2,686 yards with 14 touchdowns, and went on to win the Super Bowl. It's a near-flawless campaign. Some argue the best complete season ever, if we didn't see a better version of it the year before from someone else. Terrell Davis in 1998 was a force of nature, stacking 2,225 regular season scrimmage yards, 2,008 rushing yards, 217 receiving, and 23 touchdowns. A relentless avalanche that buried defenses and earned him both the NFL Offensive Player of the Year and MVP. His postseason was arguably even more impressive. He piled on 468 more rushing yards across 3 games, averaging a ridiculous 156 rushing yards per game, leading the Broncos to a second straight title. 2,476 rushing yards and 2,762 scrimmage yards, a combined regular and playoff haul that stood as the gold standard for the next 2 decades. Even though he didn't receive the Super Bowl MVP like he had the year before, this season was a crowning, a case for the greatest complete running back campaign ever, forged in regular season dominance and sealed with postseason glory. Funnily enough, the top 5 seasons, including the playoffs with the most yards from scrimmage, are number 5, Marshall Faulk in 2001, number 4, Terrell Davis in 1997. Number 3, Marshall Faulk again in 1999. 2, Terrell Davis again in 1998. And now number 1, Saquon Barkley in 2024, comfortably sitting at the top. 2,857 total yards, eclipsing Davis's 2,762, and 2,504 rushing yards, eclipsing Davis's 2,476. He has an NFL record 7 touchdown runs of 60 yards or more this season, which is 3 more than anyone else has ever managed in a single campaign. Barkley has produced 3 of these runs in this year's playoffs alone. No other player has run for 3 60-yard touchdowns in the playoffs in their entire career. And now, a Super Bowl ring to top it all off? Here's a raw truth. He did this in a quarterback's league where Patrick Mahomes is slinging 4,000-yard seasons. Lamar Jackson is juking defenders into oblivion. Joe Burrow's dissecting secondaries with surgical strikes. Running backs are just not built to own the spotlight anymore. Relegated to committee roles, short yardage grinds, or pass-catching afterthoughts, while QBs dictate the game. Saquon flipped the script. Contrast that with OJ's 1973 season, where he powered the Bills to 2,003 rushing yards in a relentlessly run-heavy offense that leaned on just 997 passing yards all season. Saquon, he just didn't have that luxury. He stole the show in a pass-happy meta, turning handoffs into highlight reel defiance, 20 touchdowns, a Super Bowl clincher, and proving the importance of a running back. From week 1 to Super Bowl 59, Saquon Barkley didn't just run through defenses. He tore the fabric of NFL history. The stats are jaw-dropping. The tape is a highlight reel on repeat. The ring, undeniable. Was this the greatest running back season ever? If we're talking about the regular season alone, it's a fight. OJ piled up 2,003 yards in just 14 games, a Herculean pace. Dickerson's 2,105 in 84 set the bar for decades. Peterson's 2,097 in 12 defied a torn ACL. Sanders in 97 ripped off 2,053 with 14 straight 100-yard games. And honestly, none of them may have surpassed Tomlinson's absolutely mind-blowing 31 touchdown season. But even then, all of these seasons stand out among the ordinary. Legends, all of them. But zoom out, look at the full picture. Regular season, playoffs, that Super Bowl run, the sheer force Saquon unleashed on the Eagles team in 1 year isn't just numbers. It's a legacy carved in a single relentless season.